Hello, my dear audience. In this episode, we're gonna visit the only design by John Lautner in which multiple homes were combined into one structure. This apartment building is best known for its nicknames, Le Horizon or the Treehouse, but its official name is the Sheats Apartments. And yes, it was commissioned by the same person who also commissioned the Sheats House, but then 14 years later. Paul Sheats was a professor at the University of Los Angeles, and in 1949 he approached John Lautner to design a building in which many of his students could live, while Paul Sheats himself lived with his family in an apartment at the top floor. The building is located very close to the university compound where Paul Sheats once was teaching and his tenants were studying. In 1963, Paul Sheats had earned enough money and he approached John Lautner a second time to design a larger home in Beverly Hills. This house was later sold to James Goldstein, who hired John Lautner again to make many improvements, hence the name Sheats Goldstein House. Today, the Sheats Apartments are still in the original condition, and they are still inhabited by students of the UCLA. The Sheats Apartments are enclosed by adjacent buildings in west, north and south, and accessible from the street in the east. From above, it appears that the apartments are placed under one roof and connected with hallways, but once we remove the roof, we see that the 7 apartments are more like 7 individual homes. Each of them is different, and they are connected by a courtyard and pathways that climb up the hillside. I made an animation explaining the placing of the different apartments. It all started with a pair of trees that were growing on a location. Organic architecture is in harmony with the landscape, so the elevation had to be maintained and the trees were not allowed to be removed. So John Lautner had to design the structure against the hill and around the trees. The ground was climbing so rapidly that none of the apartments could be located at street level. So first a stair was placed to connect the apartments with the street below. The first and second apartment were placed next to each other, and both apartments are cantilevering over the edge of the hillside, so a large balcony was placed under it for extra support. A third apartment was placed on top of the second one, while the space above the first apartment remained empty, allowing sunlight and space for the trees to grow. A utility space was placed behind the second and third unit, where the ground level is higher, but because the utility space is sunken in the hillside, it is on the same level as the first 2 apartments. On top of the utility space, the fourth apartment was placed, which is at the same level as the third home. The fifth apartment was placed next to the fourth unit. Between the fourth and fifth unit was space for a pathway that led to the top of the hill. Over the fourth and fifth apartment, a large balcony was placed. On top of this roof, the sixth apartment, where Paul Sheats lived, was placed, and next to it was space for the 7th and last apartment. Finally, a cantilevering roof structure was placed over the highest point, and the apartment block was finished. Although the building appears to be made out of concrete, the entire structure is framed in steel and wood, and the roofs are made with a tension ring structure. The round houses are supported on central concrete columns. The wooden surface of the structure is covered with a stucco of light yellow plaster, and together with the many balconies and cantilevering roofs, the visual appearance reminds me of Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, while the cylindrical shapes placed on a horizontal base is somewhat similar with the Guggenheim Museum, which was also designed by Wright, but then 10 years later. Okay, let's now take a look inside. We start at street level, at the parking lot. You can park your car underneath the cantilevering balcony. That also provides a lot of shadow to protect your car against the burning sun. Through the entry gate, we walk over the stair and we arrive at the courtyard, placed at the lowest floor level. Let's now take a look at the floor plan. Here you see the first two circular apartments and the utility space, connected with pathways and a courtyard in the middle. The tranquil courtyard has the effect of an oasis in the city. In just a matter of seconds, you step from the busyness of the street into an enclosed space filled with greenery and shadow. The trees that were already standing long before the houses were built have grown and are towering now high above the building. First, we're gonna take a look at the apartment at the north side. It has 2 bedrooms, and the black dot indicates the concrete column in the middle that is supporting the structure. An interesting design detail is that the external wall continues underneath the balcony, forming a half-circular wall next to the entrance. From the sliding windows of the first apartment, you can walk over the balcony to the sliding windows of the second home. But for this time, we go through the front door, which is placed left from the trees. The second apartment has 2 bedrooms as well, but unlike the first, it has a fireplace, and the layout of the floor plan is different. Now we go to the third apartment, placed directly above the second one. Over the pathway, you walk around the trees, and you turn to the left. From there is a wooden stair that leads to a balcony. When we climb up the stair, we arrive at the third apartment. And here you see the front door. We change the floor plan into a new drawing that shows the third apartment and the fourth and fifth units, which are placed higher on the hill and therefore at the same level as the third house. We continue our walkthrough right here. The third apartment has 2 bedrooms, a fireplace and a half-circular balcony, which you can see from the outside here on this photo. From this angle, standing on the balcony, you can look down on a pathway that leads to the utility space underneath the fourth apartment. This utility space has boiler, laundry and storage facilities. The utility space is also accessible from an emergency stair that leads to the parking lot. Here you see how the multiple floor levels are interacting with the elevation of the hillside. Let's now take a walk from the riser and stair over the pathway, through the garden and to the fourth and fifth apartment. Between the fourth and fifth apartment is an upper garden with 2 ponds and planters and even a small waterfall. The planters and ponds were once beautiful, but unfortunately they are not what they used to be. And after years of disrepair, the ponds have dried out. Over a few concrete slabs, you can walk to the front door of the fourth apartment. This is the concrete column that is supporting the structure. And this is the brick fireplace. And here the other side of the living room with at the right the kitchen and the two bedrooms in the background. This drawing shows the fourth unit in correspondence with the utility space placed underneath. We walk across the pathway and step through the front door of the fifth unit. This apartment has two circular bedrooms. The rear of the living room has a half-circular wall made of rectilinear windows combined with wooden window frames, while the other side of the same living space has a large window that looks out of the courtyard. We walk towards the rear of the building, underneath the 7th and 6th apartment, and arrive at the highest point of the hill. There is a small community square with a brick barbecue place. The square is enclosed by adjacent buildings. Because the 6th and 7th apartment are placed higher than a hillside, you need to climb over a wooden stair to enter. Now we have arrived at the 3rd and highest floor level. First we're gonna take a look at the 7th apartment. This apartment was not part of the original plan and it's a later addition, therefore it looks different. While all the other units are circular, the 7th apartment is triangular. It has a large rooftop terrace that looks out over the courtyard. Paul Sheats lived with his family in the 6th apartment, and because he had 3 children, there was a master bedroom and 3 smaller bedrooms. The 2nd bedroom was originally a den or an office. The idea that young students can live in such a great design is amazing, and I cannot imagine a better place for students to live. The living room has large sliding windows, from where you can step on the rooftop terrace. Over the roof, you can walk around the treetops towards the street. Here I show the different parts of the roof construction. First the roof of the lowest apartment, then the roof of the 3rd, 4th and 5th apartment, and then the roof of Paul Sheats' his home. You can see that the roof of the 7th apartment is placed lower than the 6th. There is a part of the middle roof that is skeletonized. This was done to allow more sunlight at the windows and front doors of the lower apartments. A second open structure is in the higher roof. These rectilinear openings allow more sunlight and rainwater to fall on the plants and trees in the courtyard. I think that the Sheats Apartments are unlike any other condominium in the world. The strong relationship with nature combined with the constant interaction between interior and exterior makes the apartments a prime example of organic architecture, while at the same time the cantilevering structure with the many round shapes makes it also a futuristic design related to the space age movement. I think it's unfortunate that John Lautner did not design more apartment buildings or public spaces. Although still original, the Sheats Apartments have deteriorated over the decades, and I hope they will be renovated in the future, bringing them back into their full glory.